This podcast is not sponsored or supported by any business or organization. The views reflected on these podcast episodes are my own. Please be aware I am not a medical expert, travel agent, or any other kind of expert. Hey everyone, welcome to the Eat, Explore, Love podcast. I'm Ashley. This podcast is based off of my blog of the same name, Eat, Explore, Love. It talks about the unique challenges in traveling around the world when you have celiac disease. Due to sort of popular demand, I decided to also record a podcast to delve a little deeper into my travels and the lessons learned along the way. All right, folks, this is my last podcast where I'm going to be discussing my time living in Europe for those 9 months. I am heartbroken that that is the end of that chapter, but there are still many more travels that we are going to be talking about from now until the end of the year. And then the Eat, Explore, Love podcast team is going to have to regroup, but that is a discussion for a later time. I hope that this has been a wonderful journey, and thank you for keeping posted on my travels. This originally started as a way to just keep family and friends informed of my time abroad and the stories I had to share and the experiences I was having and the lessons I was learning, and a way for me to document this moment in my life. But that is coming to an end, and now it's simply going to be a resource for others if they are having celiac and wanting to travel. And I'm so thankful that this community has grown into something like that. So I'm excited to talk about Bologna and my journey and the last bit of the leg of the trip with my father. And I'm excited to reflect on the 9 months at the end of this episode. So we were able to go for lunch at Casa Altabella. It was recommended to me by a friend I met while I was in Madrid. He knew a lot about gluten-free, and he said if you want to try tortellini, which is the pasta that was created in Bologna, that he recommended the gluten-free tortellini there. It was really good, but I do want to say the service that we encountered while we were there was absolutely terrible. So if you can deal with not ever getting your drinks, but having a fabulous gluten-free tortellini, I highly recommend going to Casa Altabella. If you don't want to chance that, you can check out my other Bologna post where I went to an AIC-approved restaurant and hear about that. So go to the post, go to the podcast episode, and hear more about the original Bologna experience that I had. Okay, so in my original discussion about Bologna, I went on the same tour and took my father on the same tour through Get Your Guide that I went on my original trip. So I would go and check out my blog posts to get the links to that tour, and it was a pretty good and decent and thorough tour. I really enjoyed it, so make sure to go check it out. As a thing, my father, his given name is Dominic. So in Bologna, it's all about St. Dominic there. So we went to go to St. Dominic Square to see St. Dominic Church and see St. Dominic's tomb, and did a lot of St. Dominic stuff. So my father really loved that and really thoroughly experienced it. If you're not going to go on the tour that I talked about, make sure you do, if you go to Bologna, check out the Basilica di San Petronio. You just have to make sure that your knees and your shoulders are covered while you go there, especially if you're doing the tour that I recommended. But regardless of that tour, make sure to go and check that out. The spelling of which, again, you could find on the blog hieatexplorelove.com. Okay, so I went through a lot of the negative feelings about having to come back home and how much I had changed and all that other stuff, and dealing with the realizations that I kind of got slapped in the face with in having to come home sooner than expected. I went through all of that in the Venice podcast, which came out last week. It's also interesting that when coming back home, a lot of people were telling me that I was happy to come home, and I wasn't. And that was really interesting. I can't fathom telling someone about how they should feel, and not giving them this space to actually express the reality of what they feel. But human beings are human beings. I want to read what I wrote on my blog post, and hopefully this is a nice way to close out the chapter of my life. And I want to just also say before I go into this that my heart is aching that I just said that. I can't believe that time of my life ended. I can't believe I don't know when the next time I'm going to go back to Europe is. I'm so upset that a goal I had in mind didn't come to fruition. I do feel a lot of people have made judgments to me about that and have thought negatively on that, and are not understanding what the actual process is for me on my end and what's happening, and are making a lot of assumptions about what's happening with me and not listening to the reality. And I can't even begin to express the frustration with that. So on top of being sad that I did not get to fulfill something that meant so much to me, but for other people to be making assumptions and telling me about my experience, which is not real, and not giving the space for it to be corrected, just adds a whole other layer of sadness and frustration. And a lot of people's response to that would be to dismiss my feelings on that and say, oh, well, there's nothing that you could do about that. That's exactly what makes it so upsetting. And I want other people to have to sit there and be told falsehoods about themselves, and to have to sit there and be told, oh, well, that you can't do anything about that, just deal with it, and take it on the chin and be okay with that and not be sad or frustrated at all. I'm still in my mourning period. I moved back to the States 2 months ago at the time of recording this, and I'm still mourning, but I am doing everything I can to get back over there. And when I talk to my grandparents about it or other people, they're like, hey, one step at a time, and let's take care of thing over here first. And I can hold multiple thoughts in my head at the same time, folks. I could still be looking to sort out my life and sort things out, while also at the same time coming up with a plan to get myself back over there. And anybody that has advice on how to do this, please let me know, because I need it. But back to the blog post that I was talking about that I would like to end this chapter on. Through the last 9 months, I have gotten the honor of traveling the world, seeing places that were never going to be on my bucket list, and places that I dreamed of going since I was a little girl. With that comes a sense of confidence that I didn't have the opportunity to experience in my life before. I come from a world where people had faith in my ability to keep organized, but that's about it. Any time I expressed any other type of talent, no one else had faith in me. That didn't bother me much. I was used to people not knowing or understanding me, but traveling and getting to know myself, getting to know how I relate to the world, was truly a freeing experience. So by the time I encountered people from before Europe life, and they tried to tell me all that I couldn't do, all that I wasn't good enough for, it was so much easier to steamroll through that and continue to keep my head up high. I was not someone that had a bucket list outside of my travels, but once I started traveling, my dreams became bigger, not unrealistic, but more varied. Conquering my desired travel and being able to do it on my own with quite literally no help, I know that people couldn't be more wrong when they tell me I am anything less than remarkable. Call it ego, call it arrogance. I'm calling it confidence. Can you imagine a lady with confidence? Thank you for joining me this week for all the fun journeys and lessons learned on my big adventure called life. For more information on the different cities discussed, check out the blog posts on hieatexplorelove.com, posted every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. If you have any questions or fun stories to share, feel free to reach out at hieatexplorelove@gmail.com. Until next week, remember to eat well, explore the world, and love yourself. See you next time. This episode is produced, scripted, and edited by me, Ashley. Special thanks to Sarah Mientka.